The Night March of the Dead. In the sweltering summer of 1863, amidst the chaos of the American Civil War, a unit of Union soldiers found themselves marching through the dense swamps of Louisiana. Their orders were to establish a forward position near a strategic crossroads, but as nightfall approached, they stumbled upon an old, forgotten cemetery nestled in the heart of the swamp. With the encroaching darkness and the treacherous terrain limiting their options, the commanding officer, Captain Elijah Ford, decided to camp within the cemetery's eerie confines for the night. The cemetery, with its ancient moss-covered tombstones and iron-wrought fences, seemed untouched by time. The soldiers, weary from their march and the constant skirmishes with Confederate patrols, quickly set up camp among the graves. As the campfires flickered to life, casting long shadows among the tombstones, an uneasy feeling settled over the men. Whispers of superstitions and tales of the restless dead circulated the fires, but were quickly dismissed by the captain as mere ghost stories meant to scare green recruits. However, as the night deepened, a dense fog rolled in from the swamp, enveloping the cemetery in a ghostly shroud. The first sign of trouble came when sentries began to report strange noises, a mix of soft moans and the sound of earth being disturbed, emanating from the fog. Captain Ford, suspecting a Confederate ambush, ordered his men to be on high alert. But what emerged from the fog was not the enemy they were trained to fight. The deed, disturbed by the presence of the living, began to rise from their graves. Skeletal hands burst through the soft earth, and decaying figures, clothed in the remnants of their burial shrouds, shuffled towards the campfires, drawn by the warmth of the living. The soldiers, confronted with this unholy terror, were paralyzed with fear. But Captain Ford, rallying his men, reminded them of their duty and the need to stand together, whatever the foe. The battle that ensued was unlike any the men had fought before. Bullets and bayonets, the tools of war against flesh and blood enemies, were of little use against the walking dead. The soldiers quickly adapted, using their shovels and campfire tools as weapons to strike down the undead assailants. Captain Ford, leading by example, fought with a ferocity born of desperation, his sword cleaving through the spectral attackers. As the night wore on, the soldiers managed to hold their ground, their campfire becoming a beacon of light against the darkness. By the break of dawn, the fog lifted, and the undead, weakened by the light of day, retreated to their graves, leaving the battlefield eerily silent once again. The men of Captain Ford's unit, though victorious, were forever changed by the night's events. They had faced an enemy far removed from the human adversaries of the war, an encounter that would be whispered about in hushed tones for generations. As they broke camp and continued their march, the cemetery returned to its peaceful slumber, the only evidence of the night's battle being the disturbed earth of the graves and the lingering sense of unease in the air. Captain Ford, reflecting on the night's horrors, realized that the true enemy was not always the one seen across the battlefield. Sometimes it was the darkness within men's hearts, or the forgotten dead, disturbed from their eternal rest.